And hello, everybody. Welcome to WD Carousel Podcast. My name's Ian.
And I'm Crystal. And I'm throwing Ian off his game.
Always. It's good, though. It keeps me fresh, you know? Today, we are going to we're going to go into our Discovering series again. And we're going to talk about Asia in the animal kingdom, which is full of things, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I will say I don't have as much of like a history background on this one as I did with Dino Land, but I think
Dino Land, like
they were compensating quite a bit.
They were. With Asia, everyone kind of already knows.
It exists. It's easier to be like, hey,
to explain
from there.
Yeah, I would say the one thing I'll say about background and theming with all this, because we have like a background theming in our notes, we have a background theming section. It's currently empty because neither of us had anything real exciting to write. But I will say that I want to give a shout out, like he's listening, to Joe Rohde, because
yes,
he's huge in this park in general, but in Asia and creating all this stuff and making it feel. Yeah, he's just like, I've realized that like things that I really love at Disney, I keep finding Joe Rohde and Tony Baxter everywhere I go. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to give Joe Rohde a shout out because this is my favorite park, and he seems like he's just everywhere with this and making it work. Oh, so anyway, I mean, that's my background.
I do have some of the theming in the attractions. Like I put my little notes in there.
We'll talk about it.
But we'll just do the walkthrough and just know that the background is Asia. They do cover the island part of Asia, because a lot of people, when they think of Asia, they just think of China, Japan, maybe Vietnam, Korea, those sorts of things. They do cover India in here as well. So they're talking about like the continent of Asia, not just food that Americans label Pan-Asia. As
right. It's the whole deal. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's walk into Asia at this point. I should have looked at. I always like build these walkthroughs now with a map, but then I don't have my map
in front of me. I have my Wilderness Explorers map. I'll hold it up while you talk, even though you can't see it.
Can't see it. It's okay. We only hear each other, but we'll get there eventually. So basically, the idea here is, when you come in from Discovery Island, you cross the bridge. It's one of the lands you can cross the bridge right over. You can see Drinkwalla to the right, and then Yak and Yeti is straight ahead when you cross. And then you go around with Yak and Yeti as you keep walking straight. The Yak and Yeti local food cafes is on the left, and then farther over on the left again on that same kind of strip of buildings is the Yak and Yeti quality beverages. So they've got kind of a couple of kind of counter areas too, as well as the Yak and Yeti interior, which I think is somewhere that I ate. I know that might have been Tusker House. Anyway, we'll get there. So that's all on the left. On the right, on that same path, you will see the Kali River Rapids, which I've also never been on.
Which is just straight.
And then as you continue straight back into the trailhead, you will see the Maharaja Jungle Trek, which is one of my favorite walks in Disney.
It's the only path that I've ever actually gone on for an animal trek.
I love it.
I'm just proud of myself for that.
Yeah. And then if you backtrack around again, because we've gone to a dead end, which happens a lot, then you keep going past the entrance, and you will take a right east towards the. You'll find yourself at Expedition Everest at that point. And then on the left, you'll see an Anandapur ice cream truck, which I remember it looks very authentic. Like it doesn't look like they've just kind of, let's just say it's the opposite of Dinoland USA, right? And then there's the Thirsty River Bar and Trek Snacks, and then Expedition Everest itself at the end, and the Circazong Bazaar. And there's also an Explorer stop over here, which is kind of, Explorer stop over here. It's kind of fun. Then we turn back around and backtrack past where we came in. You will see the Flights of Wonder Amphitheater, which now does not have. I think that's still what they call that amphitheater, but it's not what's there.
A great bird adventure, like up! Exclamation point!
Up! Yeah. Then there's the Warung Outpost, Mr. Kamal's, and Caravan Road at that point.
Yes.
So that is Asia as it sits as of right now, which, who's
So
to say?
yeah, let's talk about the attractions in that area. I think let's just do a little bit of past and present here, just kind of mix it up.
Yeah.
So the first thing you're going to notice is when you cross over the bridge and you head to the left, because that's the way that we're going to the Upbird Adventure. There's also going to be a little pavilion right there.
Yeah.
They used to have character meet and greets there, and that's where you could meet Baloo and King Louie. But that actually used to be part of the boat tour, the Circle Boat Tour. Around Discovery Island. So that was one of the exits and entrances that they've now closed off to make. Well, at least they did pre-COVID, had it as a character meet and greet. Now I believe it is a mask rest area, so you don't have to wear your mask.
Sure.
In the same area, there is the, like, literally right across the aisle walkway. The great bird adventure.
Up.
Like, I had to back up out of the microphone.
Yeah, exactly. You back up a little bit.
Don't need to blast people's ears. And that is just a little show. You can sit down. It's just a bird show. But they have lots of different animals. At first, they tried to make it seem more diverse in culture, but now it's kind of been taken over by Russell and Doug. And it's basically Russell's trying to earn another Wilderness Explorer badge, and so he's learning all about the birds. And there are birds that, fly over you and interact and all of that fun jazz. So if you don't like birds flying over your head,
but like, you already knew it was a bird adventure anyway. So, there's that.
Yeah. And then there's there is a refreshment port right over there. I can't remember which one that one is.
Yes.
But, moving on from there. So then let's just head over to the next big attraction on my map.
Okay.
This is my magic map. And I'm going to talk about the Maharaja Jungle Trek, which is the one that I did. Now, Joe Rohde actually, on the 20th anniversary of Animal Kingdom, did do a special on his Instagram, like focusing on different areas of the Animal Kingdom, especially parts that he contributed with. And he was really proud of his contributions to the Maharaja Jungle Trek, not only having, amazing animal exhibits and interactive things, as well as making it really feel like you are in the deep jungle with some worn down buildings and, fountains and structures. And it's beautiful back there.
Yeah.
Beautiful back there. But he really wanted to spotlight that there are 3 main murals back there.
Yeah.
The first one is a tiger mural, which is a huge painting of basically inside the tiger enclosure, but from an angle that you're not used to seeing, because it's not the way you see. Gosh, I am so eloquent today. It's amazing.
You nailed it. You're fine. You're doing great.
Another one is a real carved stone mural that it basically speaks to the morale of a man in the forest. So the first time he comes to the forest and then, uses up the attributes there, almost kills it off, but hey, realizes, no, we need to live in harmony. So that's all depicted on real carved stone. So it was a stone that was hand done, and that it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And then the third mural is another painted mural, but it talks about the 4 great kings of Anandapur. And it specializes in the final one, which I guess he was he donated and did a lot to better the community. And so he's just like, Joe Rohde really wanted to emphasize and pay homage to those 3 murals because they are huge in there.
Yeah. That's cool. And just as kind of like one other thing is some of the techniques they used in the safari, which we'll get to, but there's some really amazing stuff they do to separate the animals from the people. And it's really obvious in the tiger area that you can see what they do. You feel like they're right there, but then if you really think about it though, because there's no glass, you're just right there, and the tigers are right in there. But if you look down, there's like a 15-foot, kind of moat. Yeah, it's a big moat in there. Yeah, and so you don't really think about it, but you're like, oh wait, no, there's no way they could get here because it's like there's this like weird moat between us and their enclosure, but it doesn't feel like it. So they do such a good job of making that feel like there's no barriers anywhere, which is why it's such a unique experience from like a zoo.
Yeah, they have the tigers back there. I know they have like a bat enclosure, which you can't avoid if you're a little squirmy.
That was closed last time I was there, and I was like, oh, I like the bats. They were cool.
Yeah. And I mean, they have other ones. They have like this huge bird area, which makes sense because it's right next to Up!
Yeah.
A great bird adventure. But like you walk through and it's one of those ones where like birds are actually like right there and you have to walk through this chain wall to make sure that birds don't try to escape.
Aviary? They have a name for it. That's like yeah, and there's almost always somebody in there who's kind of talking you through it. And there's little guides.
Making sure you don't put a bird in your pocket.
Well, that's true. Like, I want this little sparrow. I'm taking it with me.
It's just adorable. Ground quail.
Yeah.
But
my friend. Yeah.
Let's get to Expedition Everest, because that's one that I will probably never do, but I have facts on.
Yeah. I have done Expedition Everest probably 4 times. And it is probably one of my favorite roller coasters in the world that I've been on, which is not a huge number. I should say I haven't been to like Cedar Fair or anything like that, but it's an amazing coaster just in its tightness with theming and being like a roller coaster with some thrills and excitement. It's pretty amazing.
Well, and let's just talk about Joe Rohde and the queue.
Yeah.
Because this is the one thing where I've literally thought about just walking through the queue and then just bypassing the actual attraction, because it is set up to look like an Everest base camp. So you're going to have the shopping area where you can buy stuff to go on your trek, like backpacks and stuff. And then you get into the actual queue and it looks like a temple for the Yeti.
The Yeti.
And all of the artifacts in there are real from Nepal. They're legit. It's not made up.
Yeah, the one I've been through, and I've been through both lines once or twice, but the I don't know if it's is it a temple or is it like a museum? Because there's like this one like local guy. The whole storyline is that it's one local guy who's obsessed with the Yeti, like in modern times, and he's built this entire little museum of like Yeti artifacts, and it's fascinating. But there might be another thing that haven't been.
Hold on, my cat's trying to eat my flowers.
Hey, Pugsley, get off the counter.
I tried being quiet and gesturing, and he just stared at me like, "What are you going to do about it?" Yell at you.
He's like, he waits till you're recording and then decides.
That is talent. But so everything inside of there is real from Nepal. So artifacts, factoids, paintings. They have it was the most expensive roller coaster in the world when it was made. It was $100 million to make this roller coaster.
Like more than a lot of like smaller theme parks.
It was more than a lot of a lot.
Yeah, it's more than a lot of a lot.
It was also the first one to travel backwards on a different set of tracks. So there might have been one that came up, but then it kind of backed back down.
Just backed up.
And
like a shuttle.
This one completely shifts tracks and then has you scoot backwards. I've seen video.
Yeah. It's pretty intense. So the other thing that they do is when they throw you into the backwards one, because like you come up, it's like you don't go very far, and then you're like, oh, okay, so now we're, gonna go. Now we're just like stuck at the end of this thing, and then you hear a couple of big clunks because the thing has to reconfigure, and then you fly backwards down into the mountain for a chunk of it, and they throw like G-forces at you backwards, and it is intense. It's pretty amazing. Like the first time you do it, you're like, what is happening? This is unbelievable. But it works in the story because the Yeti broke a bunch of stuff, and now you're like
the tracks are torn up in front of you. Like you drive up, and on top of all of the headbands and hairbands that you see on the side, you have these destroyed tracks in front of you, and it pauses you there for a second before it slides you back.
Yep. And you can hear the track system moving behind you. It's just kind of this big and apparently, according to something that I saw, the track switch system itself, which obviously they'd never built anything like this for a steel roller coaster. No one had ever built like a track switch for active use. That actually was, I think, I'm trying to remember. I think that cost $20 million. Like $20 million is like the cost of a standard, like relatively nice coaster. Like that's.
Do we want to talk about the other most expensive thing about this dang ride that is not even in effect right now?
Are you referring to the Yeti, my dear?
I'm referring to Disco Yeti.
Disco Yeti.
And the reason he's called Disco Yeti instead of just Yeti is because when they had created the concept of this ride, it was a huge thing. They were going to also have, instead of just another like basic animatronic or statue inside to scare you, they were going to have an actual full-size Yeti come swooping out at you in the middle of the roller coaster. And so they built up this entire attraction around the framing for this Yeti. So this Yeti is deep in there, like
he's
hardcore.
Built into the mountain and anchored to the very core of the structure that is the mountain.
And then it barely opens. And only a little bit of time passes before they start to see the entire roller coaster have structural severe damage because of the motion of the Yeti.
Yeah.
And it is too deeply ingrained for them to fix it.
Right. And it's a bloody shame too, because that Yeti is one of the largest and heaviest and most anatomically correct animatronics that Disney ever built. Like they actually built it to be like, they basically went to primatologists and said, if we took a primate, monkey, human, whatever, and you expanded it to, 15, 20 feet tall, what would it look like structurally? And they actually did that. That was what they built it out to move accurately. They built it to do whatever. And I remember an interview with Joe Rohde. He was basically like, we built this in a way where you're not going to see this thing for very long, and it's going to come lunging at you or whatever, and you're flying past it in the roller coaster. He's like, you're going to be able to focus on one thing really fast. And that's all you're going to see. And he's like, and we want every single aspect of it to be totally correct, because like you're gonna only have time to focus on one thing, and that's our goal. And so it was supposed to lunge at you, which, as you mentioned, Crystal, was causing damage to the structure of the entire attraction because he was so big, which is just crazy. So they had to find another solution. They obviously weren't going to remove him because he was built into the core of the attraction. No. And so they had to. They couldn't fix him. There was nothing they could. He was just too big. There was nothing they could do. So they basically just locked him down into a position that's still pretty menacing, but he doesn't move. And they just put strobe lights behind him, and that was the entire thing. They just did that. That was the whole deal.
I don't know how much they paid for that animatronic.
A lot.
But the idea that it is literally just a huge statue now with some strobe lights that you can get from Spirit Halloween behind it. Ooh, that must have hurt in the gut.
It hurt. I know. I'll tell you though, as a person who has seen it a couple of times, I will tell you that the work of the primatologists and the people who did the build of it, it's still extraordinarily impressive to see. Just with all of its fur, and it looks just very, very realistic. There's a lot going on there, and you are moving so fast past it that you don't really notice the fact that it's not moving as much.
Make it seem like it's lunging out at you.
I know, no, it doesn't. They could just remove it and leave it in kind of low light, and it wouldn't be any different to my eye. I feel like I could be wrong. I've only ever seen it with the strobe light, but. It's still an impressive piece of sculptural work and stuff, but it is a bummer that it doesn't move.
And don't worry, we're going to end up doing a full ride discovery about this too. This is just the highlights.
Just a couple of the big things
of the attraction, because it is one of I'd say the top 3 attractions at this whole park.
It is. Oh, it's definitely the big ticket item.
It's this, the safari, and then Flight of Passage. That's
Yep,
the
those
big
are
three.
the big boys.
So
Yeah.
if
And
we
then-
didn't at least touch this a little bit, I feel like
we
we'd
would
be
not have been
doing
doing our jobs.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the final
Yeah.
attraction that we didn't really talk about yet is the one that you and I have not gone on yet, primarily because
No.
we seem to go during their winter seasons because it's
'cause
still
we don't wanna
warmer
die.
than Minnesota.
Right.
But they close it for repairs a lot of the times because it's winter and it's a water ride. It's
Right.
Kali River Rapids.
Yes, it is. The thing about Kali River Rapids, I'm sure it's themed beautifully. I've seen images and watched, videos of it and stuff, and it's really beautiful. The fact of the matter is, it's a kind of ride system that exists in other places,
It's a
which I know
raft
that's
ride.
true for a lot. It's a raft ride.
Yeah.
It's a rapids raft ride. And it's fine. I don't feel like I need to get on it because when it's either, like you said, A, it's either not running because they're doing repairs because it's the off season, or B, it's running, but it's kind of cool out, and I don't know that I need to do it. The only time the only water ride I've ever done at Disney is Splash Mountain. That's it.
I mean, who really wants to walk around with wet pants anyway?
I don't. Yeah, I just don't. And it's humid, so I'm not going to dry off. Anyway, it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
So, Kali River Rapids.
I just have a couple little factoids about getting to the ride. I know this sounds really weird, but there is a bridge that you cross over to get to it that is walking over the actual river of the raft.
Yep.
And on there you'll find a small little green button, and if you just kind of wait until a raft comes by, it sprays the raft. So if you want to be sneaky and get those guys more wet, there's a button to do so.
I did not know that existed. That's fantastic.
Another reason why not to go on the ride. Okay. But the other big one that I found extremely fascinating was that the queue is based on the Curtigosa building. And it was all like the ceiling was originally hand painted by a master Balinese painter. And they gave him modern painting equipment, and he said no. And he decided to use pieces of bamboo, which he split and smashed up into pieces to make this whole like ceiling painting.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, he
that's
used
amazing.
traditional techniques to be able to make this, Animal Kingdom Sistine Chapel.
Right. And absolutely. And you'll find that this is true in a lot of parts of this park where they use like if the roof looks thatched, it's because it's thatched and they brought somebody in to do it. Like everything that looks authentic is because they did everything they could to make it as accurate as possible. Yeah. It's pretty incredible. And that's one of those things that you just can't fake when you're there. You're just like, this feels really real, and I don't know how to explain why.
I mean, there's even parts where in the walkthrough between Everest and heading towards the Maharaj Jungle Trek near the river where they used to have the Rivers of Light. It's been canceled. Rest in peace.
It's kind of, by the way, it was canceled.
They actually have like an Everest shrine that silhouettes the mountain of the actual Everest ride identically. On there they have food and offerings traditionally left at these types of shrines from the Nepal people. They have prayer flags all over the walkways. There's these prayer wheels that are next to the Everest entrance as well, which you traditionally spin for good luck.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if they're doing that right now with COVID, but I know you used to be able to. But they have all of these like little touches of the real cultures inside. And that's one of the reasons why this park is so amazing, because it just so much real detail.
For me it's the immersion factor. That level of immersion that they put in is just so complete. And it's also not based on IP for now. The idea that it's just kind of like they built a universe that's supposed to feel like a real place, and you just get to walk through and experience it is just so like pure Disney to me. Yeah.
Is this basically Epcot 2.0 as far as the World Showcase goes? Because in Animal Kingdom, they focus a lot more in aspects of the world that are not featured in the World Showcase of Epcot.
They do. I honestly sometimes forget that they're two separate parks when I'm in like you kind of go, oh, it's Asia. Oh, that was an Animal Kingdom though. Like it literally does feel very, very authentic in the same way that the World Showcase does, and sometimes even more so because they have the room to make it work the way they need it to. Yeah, no, it is kind of an Epcot 2.0 in some ways.
I like it.
The areas they cover. Yeah, I like it a lot.
Now, since we are recording around dinner time, let's talk about food and dining.
Oh, man, now I'm hungry.
Of course. That's the way it's going to be.
So, let's just dive right in.
I've only eaten I've done the Thirsty River bar because I wanted an alcoholic beverage.
Fair enough.
And that, I think, is the only one that is... No, there's the margarita one.
Yeah, that's one of the. I think that's one of two that has booze.
So there's two alcoholic options here in Asia. I don't remember there being a walkaway alcohol option in Dino Land or Discovery Island. So
I think there is, but I don't remember what they were.
Yeah, but get your alcohol here.
Yeah. So diving right in, we've got Caravan Road, which is Asian-inspired cuisine, just generically, which does lunch, dinner, and snacks, which is kind of nice. Mr. Kamal's, which is neat because that's falafel and seasoned fries and hummus and stuff. So it's kind of got almost like more of like a Middle Eastern flair, which is kind of fun.
Indian,
yeah. There's Warung Outpost, which does like you said, margaritas, beer, pretzels, frozen beverages, sort of fare. Drinkwalla is frozen beverages as well as alcoholic beverages. So there is another one with alcoholic beverages.
Oh, look at that!
But you can get nice and toasty in Asia, and then just some kind of more standard snacks.
Not tub hopping.
Yeah, exactly.
Cart crawl.
drink around the Animal Kingdom. Drink around the kingdom.
Woo!
Yeah. Woo! Yeah. And then of course getting into more the biggest sit-down kind of table service situation.
Only sit-down table service option in Asia. Yak and Yeti. I have eaten there. It is pretty good. It's not going to be the best. I mean, it's
sure.
When we're comparing food, best at Disney is a completely different echelon than best at home.
Right.
And Yak and Yeti is still really good. It's just not the best in Disney World. That being said, you can get I personally prefer it from the quick service window because they also have a Yak and Yeti quick service window. But they have a mango pie that is delicious, and in the quick service window, it's a smaller one, which means you get more graham cracker crust to mango filling ratio, which I like more than the one that you get in the dessert inside, which is more pie shaped, so it's a lot more filling to crust. So just a little side note, if you want a little tasty treat there, I prefer the quick service one.
Interesting. Yeah, so the sit-down place is just kind of Pan-Asian, like some other
beer
stuff.
And sangria here too. 4 places.
Oh, God, there's a lot to drink here. That's fascinating. Yeah, so then as you're bringing up before, they've got the local food cafes, which does lunch, dinner, and snacks. So that's the walk-up part of it. And that is, you can get egg rolls, beef bowls, Korean barbecue, stuff like that. And then, like you said, the mango pie in smaller size.
Yum, yum,
yum. And then the Yak and Yeti quality beverages, which is like their smaller beverage fare stuff, which
Yak
is
Attack,
which I don't even know what that is exactly.
You to say that. It was a frozen Yak Attack.
Frozen Yak Attack. There's draft beer there too, as well as sangria and turkey legs, because we're at the Renaissance Festival. I don't know. So that's kind of the vibe for the whole Yak and Yeti kind of complex, which is kind of central to the world, that land in general.
Yeah, it's almost like attached to Up.
Up.
A Great Bird Adventure,
It's never
but
gonna get old.
it's the next big building next to it. So you're going to run smack into it when you cross into the land from Discovery Island. But it's right in the center there. And then Anandapur ice cream truck.
Yep.
They're the ones that do the specialty ice cream cones.
Yep.
Just like
Soft serve.
Yeah, just like the locations in Magic Kingdom and other resorts where you can get the themed ice cream. This is the place for it here.
Yeah. And then, as you mentioned, there was the Thirsty River Bar and Trek Snacks, which is, like you said, specialty coffee.
Because by this time
specialty
we're so
cocktails.
Thirsty. Oh, we're so thirsty.
Frozen beverage, so thirsty. Ice cream treats, light snacks, pretzels, popcorn, the standard stuff. And that is your dining and beverage options, which is surprisingly numerous for the world. I didn't know that land had so much to eat and drink there. That's kind of amazing. Yeah. Especially drink.
They sneak it around. But yeah, we should totally, instead of doing drinking around the world in Epcot, we're going to drink around Asia.
Outstanding. It's a lot faster. We'll be probably more drunk because you don't have to walk as far.
And then let's go on Flight of Passage. I mean, wait, what?
Yeah. Woo! Yeah.
Shopping, I see you only really have like one on here, but I think there's two.
Is there two? Okay, because I was only able to track down one.
Yeah, because there's the one that's near Expedition Everest, which is intended to, like I said, feel like a base camp for Everest, where they have like backpacks and things on the ceiling to be like, hey, get your camping gear. But there's also a little cultural shop that's near the Maharaja Jungle Trek.
Oh, okay.
It's like a little 2-room building. You kind of do like a U through it.
Okay.
I think it has things like, some shirts and some incense, I want to say, if I remember correctly. I know there was like some smaller things, but it was a nice little addition too. So, also it's like across from the baboons, the monkeys that they have right there. Okay. There's this like whole monkey island over there too, which we haven't even talked about. But there's a monkey island.
There's a lot of stuff kind of spread throughout, which is kind of hard to give a full description of. Yes. But yeah, that's a whole island. There's like a whole like fake lake and monkeys in the middle of it, so it's a whole thing. Mm-hmm. So Circazong Bazaar is the one that I actually have, and that's the base camp Expedition Everest souvenir apparel shop. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it sounds like there's another one that I was unable to see.
That's okay.
Or find. It's okay. It's what it is.
Now, Flights of Wonder was the show before Up! So it's basically the bird show, just was not IP themed. It was still good. They still had the interactive birds, the birds flying over your head. Wasn't anything too special. And then we had already touched base on the one character meet and greet that I could recall. And the reason I know it is because one of my friends is the character handler for Baloo and King Louie. So I was hanging out there a bit to, see her again. Yeah. So it was nice.
And then I actually did Flights of Wonder. I've not done the Up version, but I did Flights of Wonder back in the day, and I gotta be honest, it was so close to the outdoor bird show at the Minnesota Zoo that I forgot the difference.
It's so similar.
I couldn't even tell you. I think it was the same thing, except their set was better. Like the actual show content and stuff was like, I don't know if that's like mean to Disney or really nice to the Minnesota Zoo. I couldn't tell you which, but I feel like
it was just a standard bird show. Until they got
our standard. Right. Our standard bird show though was the Minnesota Zoo, so maybe that's really good. I couldn't tell you, but anyway, that's my understanding. Too. Yeah. So that's Asia. And that's not like all of Asia. That's just Animal Kingdom Asia.
Animal Kingdoms Asia area land zone. Yes. Which is it's again one of my favorite. It's basically my favorite park at Disney. So
and it's a lot of fun.
We're gonna do the drinking around Asia, and we're gonna do the Maharaja Jungle Trek with it.
Yeah, make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, so when we finally get around to doing that, you can watch us
when we can go back down ridiculous.
Again. Exactly. Exactly.
This has been WD Carousel of Podcast. My name is Crystal.
And I'm Ian.
And we hope you have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. Bye, everybody.